I want to start out by thanking every single person that works for the IRS and the federal government. You really are doing the work for the people, and I want to start with a round of applause for each and every one of you. Thank you so much for what you do. I in particular really want to thank the commissioner and the secretary for being here. I really look forward to hearing their remarks, but want to start out really by going back to where we started, which is that the IRS is for the people. Our federal government is for the people. And I'm so proud to serve in Congress representing this center and these employees, because you make sure that this country can run. If you want to make sure that Social Security is funded for generations to come, then we need to invest in the IRS and in its people and in its equipment and its employees. If we want to make sure that our veterans get the benefits that they've earned, to make sure that our highways are fixed, to make sure that our water and our air are clean, then we need to stand up for the people that do this work every single day, sorting that mail, responding to customers, making sure that big corporations and the wealthiest among us actually have to pay their fair share, just like teachers and nurses and custodial workers do. That's the work that happens every single day in this building and in this city that I'm so proud to represent. And so we as leaders are really here to stand up for you because of the hard work that it is that you do every single day. And I'm so appreciative that we have the president of NTEU here from Washington, D.C., who we know stand up for our working people here in Austin, Texas. I also want to comment a little bit on my first term in Congress. The very first bill that I was asked to vote on as I stepped onto the House floor as a member of Congress, it wasn't about public safety. It wasn't about the climate crisis. It wasn't about raising worker wages or civil rights. It was a bill to say we needed to slash, a proposal to slash funding from the Inflation Reduction Act that was going to the IRS. It was that money that we have continued to defend that invests in the new equipment in these buildings, that invests in making sure that working people get the customer service that they deserve, that invest in making sure that corporations and billionaires have to pay their fair share and not cheat on their taxes. And I want you to know that thanks to the Biden administration, thanks to the leadership of folks like Secretary Yellen, and thanks to leaders in Congress, we're dedicated to protecting that Inflation Reduction Act money, because we believe that working people deserve great customer service and that the tax system should be fair, whether you are a public employee, whether you are a teacher, whether you are a billionaire, that folks should be treated fairly. And that we are going to defend off those special interests that want to protect the wealthiest from paying their fair share, when we know working people here in Texas are really doing their fair part. And so I want y'all to know the message that we see the work that you do every single day. And I'm really proud to represent and support an administration that has been so pro-consumer and pro-worker and recognizes the work that y'all do here every day. So thank you guys so very, very much for all of that. The next speaker is somebody really special to all of us and really to the whole country now. She's a constituent in Texas 35, and Dixie Warden was the first person to use the direct file system, which I know so many people here worked so hard to build and to maintain, to make sure that taxpayers can file their taxes in a way that is fast and simple and free. Because that is what we as congressional Democrats and what the Biden administration have been committed to, is making sure that the consumer and the taxpayer can do things simply. There's enough hard things in life. Let's make filing your taxes simple and fair and free. And if we can do that, if we can take the burden off everyday people and then make sure that the most powerful actually do their part, then I'm really excited about what the future can bring for this country, because I know things can feel really hard for folks, but there is, I think, hope when we lead and when folks work to make sure that we make things easier for the everyday person. I was talking with Dixie a little bit earlier about making sure that the future here for our young people, and I know she's joined here by her kids, Owen and Mia and Dylan. We're so excited to have you guys here to hear your mom talk. That the future for our young people can be bright if we actually invest in building this country together. And the direct file system is a great example of that, of how real leadership is just saying, we're going to make life easier on the everyday person. And that's what I think the real message is that we want to take away here today. By investing in the IRS, by investing in real leadership, we can make life easier for the everyday person and make sure that those folks that are billionaires trying to hide their taxes in some offshore account, that we catch them and we make sure that they chip in their fair share too, to protect the future of our kids. And so, Dixie, we're really, really happy to have you. I'm proud to have you as a constituent and really excited to hear what you have to say. Thank you all so much, and let's hear it for Dixie Worden.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Good morning. My name is Dixie Worden. I'm an HR specialist here at the IRS in Austin, Texas. I was also lucky enough to be the first person ever to use the direct file. My reason was pretty simple. I just wanted to save some money like we all do. I wanted to save some money for my kiddos here, and I did just that. I filed my taxes. It was fast and it was easy, and I got it done, exactly as I expected. I loved the whole thing. Afterwards, I was a little bit confused because I was asked to do an interview, and I was like, for what? I'm filing my taxes. We all have to do that. What's the big deal? And looking back on it now, I realize all the hard work that was put into the direct file let us, the IRS, make a good first impression. This direct file has the capability to keep millions of dollars in taxpayers' pockets. That is a huge deal, and I'm so proud to be a part of it. Even though I was very small and didn't think anything of it at the time, now I see all the work that went into it, and I'm just so thankful to be a part of an agency that helps make sure that the tax system is fair and easy for all taxpayers. And now it is my great honor to introduce Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. Secretary Yellen was sworn in as Treasury Secretary in January of 2021. She is the first person in American history to have led the White House Council of Economic Advisors, the Federal Reserve, and the Treasury Department, all three. Secretary Yellen has been a strong advocate of the IRS and our people. We appreciate what she's done to help secure 10-year funding for the IRS. That's going to help transform and modernize the U.S. tax system. She's committed to helping us make these historic innovations, and she's made improving our service to taxpayers a priority. Secretary Yellen, on behalf of me and all of my IRS colleagues here in Austin, we appreciate your leadership and all that you've done for us. Please join me in welcoming Secretary Janet Yellen.
Well, Dixie, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I'm glad to be introduced by someone who has benefited directly from our work to transform the Internal Revenue Service. And I'm glad to be here with Commissioner Werfel, NTEU National President Doreen Greenwald, and so many dedicated and talented IRS colleagues, and to be joined by Congressman Kazar. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the cafeteria we're in now became so full of paper that it couldn't function as a cafeteria. Now, thanks to your hard work and the Inflation Reduction Act, it's back to fully functioning. And the center has also been upgraded with new equipment, as have other high-volume centers around the country. I'm in Austin to mark how the IRA is enabling change. I'll focus today on what we've achieved in two key areas. First, cracking down on tax evasion to advance tax fairness, where I'll announce a new milestone in our efforts to pursue wealthy taxpayers who haven't filed in years. And second, getting all taxpayers the support they deserve so that they can get more breathing room in their household budgets. But let me start by stepping back and putting this progress in broader context. Over the past 3.5 years, the Biden-Harris administration has driven an historic economic recovery. Last week, the second estimate of second quarter GDP growth came in at 3%. That affirms that the path we're on to strong growth and declining inflation. This morning, we learned that our economy added more than 140,000 jobs in August, and the unemployment rate ticked down and remains near historically low levels. Taken together, this affirms we have a robust economy and we have a strong labor market, even as we've brought inflation down significantly over the last 2 years, and as we transition to sustainable growth moving forward. We recognize the costs for key household expenses, including healthcare, housing, and energy. They're still too high. And bringing them down is our administration's top economic priority in the short term. We're also focused on implementing a strategy I've called modern supply-side economics. It's a strategy that focuses on expanding the economy's capacity to produce, to drive inclusive economic growth in the medium to long term. And transforming the IRS is key to both of these goals. In the short term, the IRS is one of the few agencies that American families interact with each and every year. And taxpayers deserve to easily meet their obligations and get the tax credits and the deductions for which they're eligible. In the medium and long term, our economic strategy involves implementing tax incentives to drive private sector investments in the industries of the future and to support people in places that have been left out or left behind. But for far too long, the IRS has not been equipped to give taxpayers the support they deserve, nor to support our country's growth. Despite the tireless work of IRS employees, decades of underfunding have meant slow processing times, unnecessary errors, and way too large a tax gap that's the amount of taxes owed but not paid. Over the past 2 years, the Inflation Reduction Act, made possible by the President and Vice President's leadership and Congress's support, that's finally enabled us to start changing this. Let me address our work to crack down on tax evasion so that high earners pay what they owe. Now, for too long, this just hadn't been happening. Between 2010 and 2018, the audit rate for millionaires fell by 80%. And during the previous administration, as audit rates on high-income taxpayers fell, the share of audits on taxpayers with incomes under $200,000 increased. In 2019, the top 1% of Americans was estimated to owe over 1/5 of unpaid taxes. That left ordinary Americans to shoulder the burden. To fix this, we've channeled IRA funding toward significant investments to combat tax evasion. And I'm glad to now share the first results of an initiative we launched to pursue 125,000 wealthy taxpayers who had not filed taxes for years. The IRS had not had the resources to pursue these wealthy non-filers. Well, now it does, and we're making significant progress. Today, I'm announcing that in only 6 months, nearly 21,000 of these taxpayers have already filed. That has led to $172 million recovered. And this is just a first milestone. We look forward to more progress ahead. The IRS has also made substantial progress to collect tax debt from wealthy filers. And I'm glad to share today that nearly 80% of 1,600 millionaires with delinquent tax debt have now paid, leading to over $1.1 billion recovered. And this is an additional $100 million just since July, when we announced reaching the billion-dollar milestone. And the IRS has launched audits of 76 of the largest partnerships, from hedge funds to law firms, with average assets of $10 billion. It's working to close a major tax loophole that's exploited by complex partnerships. It's cracked down on the abuse of corporate jets for personal travel. And it's now launching audits of the 60 largest corporate taxpayers with average assets of $24 billion. Well, these efforts matter. They are advancing fairness. It's just not right that everyday Americans pay taxes while struggling to make ends meet, but some of the wealthiest in this country have been able to evade payment. Our successes also bolster our country's economic strength. Treasury and IRS analysis shows that our investments in technology, data, and high-end enforcement, if extended as our administration has proposed, that could generate $851 billion in additional revenue over the next decade. And this is money our government needs. It needs it to protect our national security, to provide Social Security and health care, and invest in our nation's infrastructure, among many other priorities. Let me now turn to our efforts to support all taxpayers as they engage with the IRS. Filing taxes, claiming credits and deductions, and getting refunds, Doreen said, it should be easy. But for too long, this too hasn't worked. It's been unpredictable and frustrating. So we're also putting IRA funding towards significant investments in customer service. And here too, we're seeing significant results. In filing season 2024, we reached an 88% level of service. And that's compared to a 15% level of service in 2022, before the IRA was passed. In 2024, we brought phone wait times down to an average of 3 minutes. That compares to 28 minutes before the IRA was passed. And we expanded in-person service at new or reopened taxpayer assistance centers across the country. We've also improved popular tools like Where's My Refund, which now provides taxpayers with clearer and more detailed updates. And we launched, I should say Dixie launched, an entirely new product called Direct File that allows eligible taxpayers to file for free online directly with the IRS. The Direct File pilot this past year was a huge success. It saved those who participated an estimated $5.6 million in filing fees and allowed them to claim more than $90 million in refunds. In response to demand from taxpayers from over 200 organizations representing communities across the United States and from over 100 members of Congress, Commissioner Werfel and I announced in June that we're making Direct File a permanent offering, and we've invited all states to participate as soon as next filing season. Already 9 states have answered that call, and other states are preparing to join. And today we mark another step forward. For too long, the IRS has relied on outdated technology for its work. I'm glad to now announce the IRS has completed a critical step toward upgrading its core tax processing system. This will enable the IRS to process data quickly, transparently, and securely, and to reflect tax law changes and emergency benefit programs. And this will in turn usher in a new reality for taxpayers. Taxpayers should be able to access real-time account information and take action to claim credits and get refunds just as they use the website or mobile app for their bank. And we're now well on the way to making this happen through the Digital First initiative. Taxpayers are already able to use their online accounts to view refunds and certain audits and to access other services. The IRS has made 200 different notices and letters available online and plans to make dozens more available by the end of this year. Counting these and other innovations, the IRS has launched more digital tools in the past 2 years than in the previous 20. And these changes matter. They make it easier for taxpayers to pay their taxes and to get credits and deductions from $7,500, the credit for the purchase of an electric vehicle, to up to 30% of the cost of residential home energy investments, things like solar panels and energy efficient improvements like insulation. These credits make these investments more affordable, and they position taxpayers to be able to bring down their expenses and create more breathing room in their household budgets in the years to come. But even as we make progress, we continue to face challenges from those in Congress who want to cut the funding that's enabling it. And I'll just say this would be disastrous. It could make it easier for wealthy Americans and corporations to avoid paying what they owe, while working Americans foot the bill. It could leave American households and businesses without the support they deserve, and it could contribute to increasing our country's deficit. So I want to end by thanking all IRS employees here today and across the country. You did all you could for many years with limited resources, and you're now doing all you can thanks to the IRA to make transforming the IRS a reality. I'm committed to continuing to support you in your ongoing work, and I hope you feel very proud to see your work paying off. I know it often has not been easy, but you're showing the country what a group of committed public service servants can do when you're given the tools to succeed. I also want to thank Commissioner Werfel for his commitment to this work and for his leadership. And I want to thank you again for having me here, and I'll turn over the floor to the Commissioner.
It's great to be back at our Austin campus, and I'm excited to join Secretary Yellen in announcing continued progress on our transformation work. I want to thank Secretary Yellen for her unfailing support of the IRS, its employees, and the important work they do for taxpayers. I also want to acknowledge Doreen Greenwald and TU President and thank her for her leadership and her partnership in championing IRS employees and working to ensure their success. And I want to say a special thank you to our Austin employees for their hard work, year in and year out. They faced severe challenges due to underfunding and the COVID pandemic, but they have persevered and are now providing critical support to the IRS's efforts to transform our agency. As the Secretary pointed out, the Austin cafeteria is symbolic of where we were prior to the Inflation Reduction Act and where we are today. During the pandemic, this cafeteria wasn't serving food. It ended up being filled with paper because we didn't have enough people to work all of the tax returns. We simply ran out of space. The funding we received under the Inflation Reduction Act in August of 2022 allowed us to dig out of a deep hole. It allowed us to get back to better taxpayer service standards and lay the foundation for more transformation improvements to come. Just as we've cleaned up the Austin cafeteria and got it back to functioning as intended, we've also been cleaning up the tax administration problems left by years of underfunding. And we are making significant progress transforming the agency and improving the interactions taxpayers have with the IRS. Inflation Reduction Act funding is allowing us to upgrade our technology. It's allowing us to take modernization steps that are long overdue. We have a historic opportunity to move beyond just basic service and to build a 21st century tax agency to serve the American people in the manner they expect and at the level they deserve. If the IRS continues on this trajectory, I believe we will meet the generational imperative needed for the nation's tax administration system on several fronts. This work will enable all taxpayers to complete all interactions with the IRS digitally if they choose. The IRS will be better equipped to disrupt tax scams and provide immediate and comprehensive victim support when scams occur. We will complete and sustain new solutions for protecting taxpayer data from unauthorized access and disclosure. And we will put in place increasingly accurate audit selection methods that hold accountable those taxpayers who use complex financial maneuvers to shield income, while avoiding burdening those taxpayers who play by the rules, including lower income taxpayers. Our work isn't done, not by a long shot, but there should be no mistaking the remarkable historic progress the IRS has accomplished during the past 2 years. These efforts to serve taxpayers and improve tax administration will continue to intensify and accelerate in the upcoming months and into the future. Our transformation efforts are also focused on ensuring fairness in the tax system. If you boil this down, it means law-abiding taxpayers will get better service and more help. At the same time, we are increasing our scrutiny of complex filers that have decided they won't play by the rules. I'm proud that this year, the IRS had one of its best filing seasons ever in terms of taxpayer service. Taxpayers saw a difference. During the 2024 filing season, we answered over 1 million more taxpayer calls than we did a year ago, and 3 million more calls than we did in 2022. Wait times and level of service on our main phone lines improved. We dramatically expanded service in our walk-in sites, increasing hours and serving more taxpayers. And new and expanded tools on irs.gov saw heavy use. As Secretary Yellen has noted, improving service is only part of the equation. I'm proud we're making critical inroads in addressing tax evasion among the most complex and largest filers, especially high-wealth individuals, large corporations, and complex partnerships. We are making a difference in tax compliance. Inflation Reduction Act funding has allowed us to take concrete steps in all 3 areas, including recovering back taxes from millionaires with overdue tax bills and launching an initiative to crack down on abusive corporate jets. Secretary Yellen's announcement that we have collected $172 million so far from millionaires who weren't filing tax returns shows that our non-filer program is back, thanks to Inflation Reduction Act funding. This is part of a large, yes. This is part of a larger effort. Our other work involving high-income households that owe taxes is paying off. Nearly 80% of the 1,600 millionaires with delinquent tax debt have now made a payment, leading to over $1.1 billion recovered. This is an additional $100 million above our earlier results. Here's the other side of the compliance coin. We're also taking steps to refine audit tools to avoid burdening those taxpayers who play by the rules. We are working to add more fairness to address audit disparities among low-income taxpayers, including earned income tax credit recipients. As the IRS continues to work to formalize its methodology for audit rate reporting, our focus on high-end enforcement will continue. It's important to point out that the resources under the Inflation Reduction Act have also been a difference maker in our efforts to modernize our operations. In one critical area, we have reached a milestone in modernizing a core technology component of the individual master file, which houses taxpayer data and feeds into key systems. We've been on a long journey to modernize from outdated 1960s technology, and we're now taking the final steps towards a modern system. This new system will allow us to make taxpayer history available in a modern data environment. Modernizing isn't just about efficiency, it's about preventing a potential collapse of the technology that underpins the tax system and ensures consistent revenue for government operations. When fully implemented, it will be a game changer for our transformation efforts. For example, when a taxpayer calls with a question about their account, our phone assisters will be able to access real-time account information just like any bank or financial institution does. When Congress passes an emergency benefit program for us to administer, we will be able to move more quickly to get those benefits out to the people who need them. Ultimately, it will help us build efficiency and reduce the cost of maintaining IT systems. Another great example of how we're modernizing is our paperless processing initiative, where we are moving towards the goal of digitizing all paper forms as soon as they are received. We are also encouraging taxpayers to send us documents digitally using the document upload tool, and that has been a great success. This tool gives taxpayers and tax pros the option to respond digitally to certain IRS notices by uploading any requirement documents through irs.gov. Usage of this tool recently hit an important milestone, reaching 1 million document submissions. But while we have been making critical progress in our transformation work, I want to be clear. The IRS has much more to do on many fronts. We need to close remaining gaps on phone service. We need to expand digital options for all taxpayers. We need to further strengthen data security against evolving threats. We need to enhance support for vulnerable populations by increasing access to the Earned Income Tax Credit and other refundable credits. And we need to protect and support tax scam victims. Our ongoing success hinges on sustained investments to make sure that we have the right size workforce. We need to ensure we provide our employees with the right training and tools, as well as modern technology infrastructure to help taxpayers. These are needed to allow the IRS to continue its transformation work to serve the nation today and into the future. As Secretary Yellen noted, our ability to continue making progress on all these fronts can only happen if the IRS receives a consistent, reliable funding stream, both in regard to our annual appropriations and maintaining Inflation Reduction Act funding. The decision about whether to adequately fund the agency comes down to some fundamental questions. Will taxpayers be able to easily interact with the IRS to meet their tax responsibilities or resolve issues if they arise? Will the IRS be able to ensure fairness in the tax system through its enforcement activities? Will we be able to quickly and effectively address tax scams that exploit vulnerable populations? And will the IRS have the IT infrastructure and modern technology platforms that can support our transformation work? The answer to those questions is much different before and after the Inflation Reduction Act. The answer before August 2022, when the IRS was starved of resources, was clearly no, as the paper-filled cafeteria here in Austin demonstrated. But now, the answer to those questions is yes. Today, it's a whole new world for the IRS, where we are working to address those issues. And you can see it right here in Austin. In many ways, you can see the future of taxes right here in Texas. We are fundamentally transforming and improving the IRS. This is important for taxpayers and for the nation, which relies on the revenue stream provided by the IRS for everything from defense to highways and social programs. So we will build on the accomplishments of 2023 and 2024 filing seasons and continue to put in place improvements to help taxpayers ensure fairness in tax compliance and improve technology. As commissioner, I want people to know that the IRS is on the side of taxpayers, and we continue our transformation work. We will continue working to reflect that in every aspect of our operations while administering the nation's tax laws. I want to close by expressing my appreciation to the IRS employees here in Austin and throughout the agency. Our employees have a deep belief in the importance of effectively serving taxpayers, ensuring fairness in the tax administration, and protecting taxpayer rights in everything they do. They do extraordinary work, both in lean times and during the past 2 years after the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act. And they are the reason the Secretary and I can stand here today and report critical progress in our transformation work. Their continued dedication will ensure we can keep transforming our agency to better serve taxpayers and the tax system. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our National Treasury Employees Union President, Doreen Greenwald. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It is great to be here in Austin. So I am bringing out technology and trying to get away from paper. So let me first off start off by thanking Commissioner Werfel for the invite to come here today. It's no accident that when I come to these meetings and I get to meet people, and I've met them before, it's because we're all engaged in the same kind of work. So not only is it my honor to be here, I also want to welcome Secretary Yellen. Secretary Yellen and I have met before, and that is a testament to how much she cares about the success of the IRS, and not just the IRS, but the employees who work for the IRS. For her to reach out and want to talk to the president of the union about what employees are feeling, what they are experiencing, what's going on, that's rare in these days. And so I thank you, Madam Secretary, for all the work you do to make sure that the employees have what they need. I also want to thank the Congressman Kazar, for being here. He is a friend and ally of federal employees and lives by the words he said today. He is always fighting on the Hill to make sure we have the resources we need, and I appreciate that very much. What I'm really excited about, though, and I want to thank everybody for being here, is highlighting the incredible success of Austin employees. You guys rock, and don't let anybody tell you differently. Look, I know, as others have said, there was paper in this room that nobody could see over, and down the hallways, and far worse. I can think back to 2021. If you recall, Austin was ready to close their submission processing. And at that time, employees were like, I don't know what they're thinking. There's all this work. What are we going to do? And we were concerned about employees, too. And the IRS listened. And they didn't close Austin. And I'm really pleased because history has shown us to be correct today. And look at where Austin is today. So that is really a huge thing. This would not have been possible without the hard work and dedication of the employees here in Austin and across the entire country. As the national president of NTU and a former IRS employee, I know IRS employees. I know the incredible knowledge and skill it takes to do the jobs that you do. It takes years for employees to learn all that is required of them. Every employee has an important role and responsibility to help deliver the mission of the IRS. And everyone should recognize and appreciate the enormous contributions to the success of the IRS. They have earned our respect, and we must thank them for all the services they provide to taxpayers across the country. So I know everybody's thanked you, but let's give a round of applause to everybody. Thank you for the work you do. I hope everyone will take a moment to consider how this looked from the employee's point of view. It wasn't that long ago that employees didn't have adequate supplies. Some were even purchasing their own just to get the job done. Antiquated computers, broken equipment slowed productivity. Knowing there weren't enough people to process paper and answer phone calls. Thanks to the funding from the Inflation Reduction Act, hiring is underway and new technology is being installed. Supplies are now more readily available. Even new chairs are ordered and coming soon. You know those things matter to you. I'm not talking lightly. We must continue to build on this progress. Hiring is still needed. We know it. As new technology is installed, employees will be trained. As the IRS implements new processes, employees will be needed more than ever. So I want you to hear me when I say new technology does not mean you're going away. Commissioner Werfel has confirmed we need all of you to help get the job done. And so let's embrace this technology because we know it'll help us all deliver better for taxpayers, as there is so much more to do. Let today be an example of how government, when properly funded and staffed, can dramatically improve its operations and make a real difference in people's lives. NTU will continue to be a voice for IRS employees. We will continue to partner with the IRS to help implement solutions to further improve the IRS workplace and the needs of the IRS workforce. We will embrace new technology that will further expand better service for taxpayers and help build a better culture that appreciates, recognizes, and rewards employees. To ensure the IRS has what it takes to continue to attract and retain employees who will want to build a career of public service for the IRS. Today we celebrate progress, but as everybody has said, there is so much more to do, but we need the proper funding and resources. And I know we can continue to count on IRS employees to deliver. They've delivered before and they will deliver again. So thank all of you.